Welcome to another garden vlog. And yeah, we're still winding down for season 2 here. We're looking at our GHB avocados, and check this out. There's one more popping up there and another one popping up there. And yesterday I was cleaning out this guy and I sort of broke that little sprout there. Hopefully it'll re-sprout its top. So maybe I'll remember next time not to clean up the debris on the top, and have them break. But yeah, so that means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 so far have sprouted or starting to sprout. Of course, many more have, roots already in the soil. We've seen many of them were already had their roots sticking out when we collected them from the avocados. New today, I got some red Maradol papaya, and I fermented the seeds for about 24 hours. I'm not going to try to dry them, pop them, get all the flesh out of here. But they've been fermenting in water. Just drained them this morning, and we're going to put them, all these guys, in maybe a couple pots. Let's just see what it looks like when we start spreading these seeds around and see how many pots we may need. Now, if I had unlimited supply of gallon pots and potting soil, I'd probably put 4 seeds in a gallon pot. Or if I had seedling trays, just one in each little tiny, 2-inch tray. But, I'm getting low on potting soil. I've been talking and thinking about papayas, different cultivars and stuff. And I've been looking into some of those Hawaiian papayas that people have asked me about. But a lot of them seem to not be as cold hardy. Some of them are in that, 32 degree range, means major dieback or death, versus maybe 26, 25, where you get some dieback, and then they may still actually come back somewhere between the roots and, part of the trunk. If you're growing them as, a biennial, so grow them for 2 years, then you just protect them that first winter anyway in a greenhouse, or bringing them in when you have those frosts or freezes, and then planting them out in the spring or early summer or something in the ground to produce one crop. And then if it freezes down and dies that following winter, then that's just how it is. So we got 2. These may or may not be quite 3 gallon. They might be 2.5 gallon pots. And we're just going to see what happens when we split the seeds in half and just put them in here. That flesh might rot something. Okay. And spread them around there good. Right, so that's a pretty nice, dense planting, and we still got a third or half left, so maybe I'll just put some of these in various places and see what happens in the ground. Put a little bit of peat moss on top, just because that's what I had right here by these containers, and that's so we put most of those seeds in wetland zone 1 here, and a variety of places where you got a lot of trees and a lot of, or small shrubs or whatever, elderberries, and a little bit of blind fencing and stuff on kind of like a south wall. So it's not super sunny or anything, but it could be. We'll just see what happens. Got a few too in this banana circle here, just on kind of like the outer side of the hill versus the inner side where I have the actual banana. And then here we're on raised bed number 2, and I put just a couple little, 4 or 5 in that little soil area. I couldn't really find a spot without maybe digging in all these sweet potatoes to put it in raised bed 1 close to the other papayas. So instead of digging around getting super muddy, getting my shoes soaking wet, I just put it on the second bed instead of the first. And my potting soil is dwindling down more. There are probably 15 or 20 different directions we could go to, or I'm being pulled to, whether or not we commit to one or multiple of those things, current and post season 2 in the near future. These papaya experiments, or something. The seeds generally aren't that much money, but sometimes they do not come true to seed. And most of these, I think, YouTubers and stuff that try out a new papaya or something, they buy them from like Etsy or eBay or Amazon or something. And either sometimes they're the wrong cultivar, or maybe they got cross-pollinated with something else. And you really don't have a guarantee of what cultivar that is. But in general, you can go out and buy sunrise, sunset, Hawaiian solo, like a gold Hawaiian, and probably 15 other varieties of papaya. Then there's oak leaf papaya, which is supposed to be somewhat more cold hardy maybe. And then there's the mountain papaya we talked about. And two things are called mountain papaya. One is like a not a hybrid, and then the other one I think they call babaco, which is a hybrid that is also called mountain papaya, but it's not as cold hardy. As I said earlier, some of the Hawaiian papayas aren't as cold hardy as the Mexican papayas, like the Maradol. I'm also looking at the idea of possibly doing mangoes in ground, if I can maybe get some more information about them. Now, from everything I've read, that these condo or dwarf mangoes don't even exist. They just call them that because maybe they grow in a different way. Some of them may grow a little bit slower. Some of them may be able to handle pruning, majorly pruning back their growth better than others. Then we can look at, the size of mango fruits they produce. So we can look at disease resistance, which is probably a priority actually for us, since we will have to protect it. And anytime you wrap something around, you create more humidity. Moisture doesn't dry up in the sun as fast, especially if you have it wrapped for days at a time. So, and then the flavor. There are mangoes that are probably sour. There are mangoes that are, maybe used as a vegetable. There are mangoes that taste like coconut. There are mangoes that taste like other stuff, peaches, and pineapple maybe. Some of them may have a little persimmon-esque taste to them. Most everybody recommends Pickering, which I think has been out for quite a while. Probably because it's a good quality fruit, I think, and I think that it may be one of the more compact growers. There are other ones that have been introduced, like Julie and stuff, that seems to be popular, at least nowadays, with the nurseries. I'm not sure what the disease resistance is, but so number one for me would be disease resistance, 2 would be flavor, and last would be the size of the actual mango fruit. And it needs to be something that we could keep probably 10, 12 feet, 8 feet, something like that, so we can cover it in the frost. The drawback of getting papayas now or getting mangoes now is going to be twofold. One, we need to get more like scion wood and possibly plugs, the rooted plugs of like figs and maybe pomegranates and some pawpaws and possibly loquats if these guys take here. And 2 is we're almost in the winter. Do we want to get these super cold tender seedlings and small, tropical trees and immediately have to protect them from the cold? And the other idea Natalie and I have both talked about is trying to find something to bring the kids into the garden, whether it's getting, vegetable starts or, something like that from a nursery, or getting seeds that we can just get some little pots and some little plastic, cheap shovels, buy the kids their own shovel and bucket or whatever, and try to introduce them a little bit more into the garden. That's probably, I would say that wouldn't be a lot of money, but everything is expensive now. It could cost $50 to buy 2 or 3 packs of seeds and buckets and some little shovels, but that's okay. I really do need to get the kids more on board with the gardening stuff, since it's such a big part of my life, and it has been a big part of Natalie's life as well, even though she's disabled now, or more disabled than she was, and can't really do a whole lot in the garden. She's still got some of that mindset, this is what she wants to see. She loves her roses, she loves her flowers, she loves eating a lot of fresh fruits, she loves her tomatoes. But yeah, anything we commit to, anything we do is most likely going to take away from something else that we want to do. That's just how it is. It's just time, it's finances, and all that good stuff. And we got Christmas coming up. It's too early to say whether or not those loquat grafts are going to take. I really have no idea, what percentage will take, if any. If we have some good successes, then maybe we need to expand on those surefire successes until we have a good selection of maybe 10 or so, possibly more, cultivars to try out in our garden. And we can't really put 10 in the ground, but we can multi-graft later on and have like 2 5-in-1 loquats. But if they're a complete failure, then I'm not going to invest any more money in scion wood. I may still slowly get some cultivars that are already grafted, but just it's not going to be as big of a priority if I cannot reproduce them. As for paws, we've been experimenting for a long time and have not really had the successes that we've hoped for. We are hopeful in that we got one seedling that we cold stratified or whatever for a while, about 100 days, and we got it to grow after almost 2 years in the ground. But that's not enough to say we're successful. We need to produce a crop of fruit that, are multiple crops, and maybe every year have a good amount and actually get better and more each year. So we're excited about getting possibly some Eric Duckworth cultivars and another Prima or whatever, if we can get it this winter or spring, and try to graft it onto our root stocks, our root suckers. And I would definitely like to try some of the Jerry Lehman ones. I had one a few years ago. It just didn't make it. It was a little tiny stick we got from a nursery in Tennessee, bare root, and for whatever reason it just didn't survive. They're very hard to keep alive anyway. Sometimes pawpaws will just stay at that same size, for years and years until it gets a growth spurt, and then once you see that growth happening, it's probably happy. Some of them will either die immediately, transplant shock something, or die within a year or so. Other ones, may just get smaller and smaller. They'll have a little dieback. They'll come back the next year, a little dieback, till they die back so much that they just don't come back, and they ultimately just decline so much and die. The Tennessee seedling that we had, that's, it did that thing where it was just stunted for so many years until it started growing. And then, it started flowering at about, 6 or 8 feet maybe, and produced these little avocado-like tasting tiny pawpaws. So as of right now, I don't consider the pawpaw, at least in our, wetlands area here, our swamp muck, as a surefire anything. We are just adding more genetics almost every year, even if it's just a small amount. Kind of like throwing mud, on the wall or the ceiling and hoping something sticks. And even if we start having those successes in 2 or 3 or 5 years, what do we do with it? Do we just use the fruits ourselves? Do we just trade scion wood or sell scion wood to people? Pawpaws aren't known to do really well in pots. I know sometimes you can buy them a 2 or 3 year old seedling, if you can get them that far, and you can graft them once they get such a certain size, but I'm not sure if they would be worth it as, trying to combat whatever they don't like about growing in pots. Maybe they just have a really long taproot. The roots are really extremely sensitive. Do you need air pruning containers? Probably. If we were up north, you just put your seed in the ground where you want it to grow, and then you graft it later. And that just does not work here in north central Florida. It doesn't get cold stratified. It's possible that bacteria and, insects or something are going to destroy the seed and embryo before it has a chance to actually sprout up and do anything. As far as these banana circles and banana experiments go, I think I'm going to revert back to what I originally said about, it's being fall, winter. Probably not a good time to buy more material to have to protect, during these freezes. So it's probably going to be better, late spring, early summer or something next year to get material, whether or not we actually work on a banana circle or something before then. Yep, there's my idea. So I've checked the loquats, that we grafted, and I still, they're green. There might be a little bit of bud swelling on one of them, but until I see some buds pushing out, which I don't think we're going to see anything like that, any leafing out or anything before the end of season 2. We'll probably won't know what happens until season 3 starts. It would be nice if we just seen something, definitive, by tomorrow or the next day when we end this season. Still keeping an eye on this Deanna fig, and it's still kind of hard. It's not soft yet. Definitely has getting a little bit more white on it. And so far, that bloom on the squash, the female that we've been keeping an eye on for like 3 days, it still looks good. It hasn't opened up yet, but it's definitely swollen more. Check this out. We're getting a lot of growth on those beauty berries there. Look at that. More and more of these mulberries are starting to get new growth on them as well. Like that guy right there. These sticks here, I think, are older pieces of the of beautyberry in this pot, and they really don't look as good. Maybe you need to root mostly the new growth. Are y'all getting ready for your Halloween party tonight?
Yeah. Today.
Hey, you still got chocolate all over your face. You need to go wash it. Go wash it, Jonathan, in the sink. Don't just wipe it or it'll be all over your clothes. Well, there's an owl over here. And I guess that means it's dark outside. I didn't really plan to end this vlog kind of abruptly, but couldn't really finish it today. At least we probably had some other things to. And even at night, I guess I got an owl rudely interrupting me. Or am I rudely interrupting that owl? So the kids kept coming out and bothering me, screaming. And by the time I, went back in and come back out, we had plans for something else. And we ended up going somewhere. And now we got another kid here.
Dad, you gotta undo.
Yeah, as you can see, always interrupted by some kid, right?
Undo this, Daddy.
What were you dressed up like?
A doctor.
Doctor. Obviously, we had like a Halloween party that was sort of unexpected.
Yep, it was
Granny Pat's church, huh?
Yeah, Granny Pat's party.
Anyway, we definitely have to sort of figure out how to plan to have, kids involved in our garden endeavors. But there are times when I'm, trying to focus on something and boom, my focus is like completely get off track, and we don't finish what we started to do sometimes. Or, like you might see a garden vlog where we shift, and we could be filming for a day or 2 days and just taking certain scenes hours and hours apart. And it could seem like, well, weren't you just doing that? Why did you shift to this? It's not really that I shifted to this, it's that it seems like I did, abruptly did that. But hey, it is what it is. This is life with kids. But I guess one of the things that I wanted to talk about, I finally got in touch with the people that were doing some of the mango growing in Chiefland, and they finally told me they didn't think that it was worth the effort. And they had, in that 2022 5-day frost or freezes they had, took half of their mango tree out, and they said that it hasn't bloomed since then. It may bloom this year, they expect it to, but they said it's just too much work, whatever. It's not worth it, in their opinion, to try to keep a mango in ground alive just by using this water barrel and quilt method. Something like that may be more viable in downtown Gainesville when you have such a massive amount of pavement, concrete, large buildings that are heating up and maybe preventing some of the north winds, from massively, penetrating the biggest part of the city there. I've been told that there have been certain parts of Gainesville, especially where big ponds and stuff have been, duck ponds and stuff, that have measured out to USDA Zone 10 temperatures. Now, is that long term, or is it just, 1 year where it did that? I don't know. But they were saying, I bet in the right circumstances and microclimate, you could probably grow jackfruit without protection in these areas. Unfortunately, I'm not in downtown Gainesville. I'm not in Gainesville at all. I'm in a swampy area a little bit of ways from there, and we probably have cold weather, probably similar to Chiefland, maybe just a couple degrees warmer. I think in my county, there are bits and pieces that are actually USDA Zone 8B still, even though by most accounts it's 9A. But anyway, that kind of makes me say maybe I should wait a few more years, measure the temperatures in this area, see how much warming occurs before spending money and a lot of time trying to do something like that, unless I just wanted to grow, a mango in a container long term. So that is it. I guess that's it for this garden vlog, and who knows what's happening tomorrow. Take care, guys.